So today's video is a bit different in the sense that the list isn't in any particular order. All of these records are probably unbreakable, so let's think of it more as a list of records all tied for first. It's a whole list of number ones. What's not to love? Alright, enough chatter, let's get at her. Number 10, Cy Young, 511 career wins. Baseball has such a long history and it seems inevitable that many records will one day fall, but this sure ain't one of them. Cy Young is a Hall of Fame pitcher who was an absolute beast. Heck, they named the annual award for Best Pitcher after him. That's how good he was. And his 511 career wins is about as unbreakable as it gets. To put that in perspective, you'd have to win 20 games per year for 25 years, and then you'd still come up a few wins short. Most pitchers never get a 20-win season anymore once, let alone string 25 of them together. The game has simply changed too much as bullpens are used more actively and injuries take a toll on pitchers over their careers. Cy Young hasn't thrown a baseball professionally in more than 110 years, and this one seems as safe a bet as there is to last forever. Number 9, Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points in an NBA game. In early 2024, Luka Doncic stunned the basketball world when he dropped 73 points in a single game. But somehow he was still 27 points shy of the single game record holder, Wilt Chamberlain. Dude scored 100 points in a single game. Unbelievable. The closest anyone has ever gotten since Wilt did this in 1962 was when Kobe Bryant dropped 81 points on the Toronto Raptors in 2006, and really that wasn't even close. There is no way anyone will break this record. Even if an NBA team let one of their guys shoot the ball every single time up the floor, the odds of them getting enough of those shots in to get to 100 is damn near impossible. So we should expect Wilt to stay in the top spot forever. Number 8, Wayne Gretzky, 2,857 career points. Wayne Gretzky is the greatest hockey player of all time. There's little debate there. But what many people don't realize is how much of a gap there is between Wayne Gretzky and everyone else. And this is most obvious when it comes to career points. Wayner put up 2,857 points in his NHL career, and the guy in second place, Jaromir Jagr, put up 1,921. That's 936 fewer points than the Great One, or put another way, Wayne Gretzky had nearly 50% more total points than Jagr in second. It's hard to explain how nuts this is. Imagine Barry Bonds and his career home run total of 762 home runs. Now imagine if Barry Bonds was in second. How many home runs would a guy in first need to have in order to be that far ahead? The first place guy would need 1,133 home runs. It's crazy. Needless to say, no one's going to touch Wayne Gretzky's point total. There's no freaking way. Number 7, Barry Bonds, 688 career intentional walks. And speaking of Barry Bonds, let's talk about another untouchable baseball record, but it's not home runs. One Barry record that ain't gonna get touched is his mind-bending 688 career intentional walks. For those who don't know, an intentional walk in baseball is where the pitcher just sends the batter to first base, no questions asked. It's usually reserved for specific strategic situations. But with Barry, it was used due to fear. The fear he would hit a baseball that doesn't land until Tuesday. How far out in front is Barry and his 688 intentional walks? Second place all time is Albert Pujols, and he has 316. So Barry has more than double the guy in second. And no one else in baseball history has more than 300. This record is totally out of reach forever and ever. Amen. Number 6, Rafael Nadal, 14 French Open titles. Most tennis players would be grateful just to play in 14 major championships, let alone win 14 major championships. But how about winning a single major championship 14 times? Allow me to now talk about Rafael Nadal. In singles matches at the French Open, Rafael Nadal, in his entire career, only ever lost 3 matches. Three total. That's it. He is the king of clay. The dude was as untouchable as it gets. In the Open era, the next closest guy is Bjorn Borg, and he has 6. Nadal has 14, Borg has 6. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you think this is just a men's tennis thing, think again. The most all-time French Open championships on the women's side belongs to the legend Chris Evert, who won 7 titles. So Bjorn Borg and Chris Evert can be added together and they still don't equal Nadal. So to say this record is untouchable is a bit of an understatement. Hey, it's now halftime and it feels like we're just getting warmed up. We got sports records aplenty still to come. But while we're taking a break, would you mind liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you're enjoying it? Thanks a bunch. All right, back to the records. Number 5, Tiger Woods, 683 weeks as world #1 golfer. You may have heard of this guy. He was a decent little golfer in his day. And by a decent little golfer, I mean he was one of the most dominant forces in sports history. Tiger obviously has a bunch of records, but today I'll hit you with the forever record, and that is the most weeks spent as the #1 ranked golfer in the world. Tiger held the top spot for 683 weeks, and in second, we've got Greg Norman at 331, so less than half the number of weeks. And in third is Dustin Johnson with 135 weeks. That's it. It's a crazy drop-off just between first and third. For you math whizzes out there, that means that Tiger spent more than 13 full years at #1. It's an impossibly long time in a competitive sport. So does anyone have a chance? Is anyone close? Well, Scottie Scheffler is the current #1 and looking like the most dominant golfer since Tiger, and he has spent a total of 86 weeks at #1 at the time of recording. So he's only got to stay at #1 for, checks math, 597 more weeks. Hang in there, Scottie, only 11 and a half more years to go. Number 4, Richard Petty and his entire 1967 season. In 1967, NASCAR's Richard Petty may have had the single most dominant season in the history of any sport or any semi-sport or any semi-sport in all of history. It's so off the charts, it's going to be hard to run it down for you. He won 27 races in one season, 27, including 10 races in a row, and no one has even come close to those numbers since, and they never will. This is partially because NASCAR has fewer races now, but it's mainly because Richard Petty was a freak show. In this single year, he won more races than 14 other Hall of Fame drivers won in their entire careers. Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the most successful and popular drivers of the last quarter century, won 26 races in his entire career. Richard Petty won 27 in one season. It's crazy. Here's another related stat from that season, which will never be equaled. He led for 5,543 laps during the season, which is about 44% of all the laps he completed for the year. That is psycho. You don't have to be a NASCAR fan to understand that this is ridiculous. Richard Petty set a standard which will never be equaled. Number 3, Michael Phelps, 23 Olympic gold medals. Many of the records on today's list have situations where the record holder is a good 50 to 100% out in front of the next closest person, which is a huge difference. But Michael Phelps would like to have a word with you because this dude has taken gold medals to the next level. This record is so unbelievable that I included it in my video on the world records that will never be broken. It is so out there. Michael Phelps won 23 gold medals in his Olympic career. After him, there's a 4-way tie for second with a total of 9. 9 gold medals. Michael Phelps has 23. Dude was an absolute machine. And it gets even more hilarious from there. When it comes to total medals, not just gold medals, total medals, gymnast Larissa Latynina of the Soviet Union is in second place with 18 total medals. This means that Michael Phelps has more gold medals than anyone else has total medals. There will never be another Michael Phelps. End of story. Number 2, Isner versus Mahut, the longest Wimbledon tennis match. Spanning 3 days and a playing time of 11 hours and 5 minutes, the match at Wimbledon in 2010 between these two guys was as epic as you will ever see in the history of tennis. This tennis match was exhausting just to watch. Can you imagine being the guys having to actually play this thing? The 5th and final set went to a tiebreak, which Isner eventually won by a score of 70 games to 68. This set alone required 183 games, and it took 8 hours and 11 minutes of playing time to complete, both of which are also records in their own right, both of which probably won't be broken either. In 2019, Wimbledon instituted a new rule that forced a tiebreak in the 5th set if they're still tied when it reaches 12-12, and then further tiebreak rule changes came in 2022, which means that the conditions for breaking this record have all but disappeared, and thus this record is safe forever. Number 1, Cal Ripken Jr., 2,632 consecutive games played. Last but certainly not least today, we have a final baseball record, this one belonging to Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. for playing in 2,632 consecutive games. Since a baseball season is currently 162 games long, this means he played the equivalent of more than 16 full seasons without missing a single game. Why is this one unbreakable? Well, let's start with the fact that most Major League Baseball players don't even have careers that last that long. In fact, only about 40 other players in Major League Baseball history played in that many games in their whole career, let alone consecutively. And it's not enough to just play that long. You have to never get injured enough to miss a game. And in this day and age, that's basically impossible. And even if someone could theoretically break this record, they probably wouldn't want to break it. A baseball season is long and exhausting. Most players would want a game off here and there anyways. So put it all together and you have yourself a bona fide, untouchable record. There you have it. What a list. Man, that was fun. What do you think? Are there any other unbreakable records that I missed? Throw them in the comments below and we'll keep the conversation going. Well, not for as long as that Wimbledon match, but for a while at least.